So here we go. Match number 1 of the Turin's faction war. Myself against Loopy. Playing as the Coast against his Nagarite, the High Elves. And immediately we're seeing pretty defensive build so far. Probably at least a few skirmishers. And an Elithanar. Now Noctilus, he can fire some shots at him. Elithanar firing back. Doing a little bit of damage. Nothing too crazy so far. I'm just progressing with my bats. Most of the money looks like it looks like he was ready for a crab rush. I see normal archers. Nothing too crazy on that front. And let's see, Elithanar is dodging. He's dodging as fast as he can. At the moment, I'm just gonna push up with my bats and have them get a bit of damage on. Get those gunnery wights up. Move up with them sirens. Just continue picking away. The nice thing about this situation is that I'm not worried at all in terms of ammunition because of the gunnery wights. And Noctilus too can even poke away at Elithanar a bit. That's pretty nice. Moonbow shot fires in onto the sirens. Thankfully it didn't do too much damage, although there's definitely a chance of that going terribly wrong. Now what is good for me is that there is a fire mage, but that is the only source of fire damage. Also Elithanar is getting a little bit exposed, actually getting in a bad position with the 2 gunnery wights now poking away at him. We'll see if he manages to escape, but this is already a pretty bad case for him. The sirens will be taking to the far flank. This plays out much like the matchup against Empire. And there we go. Some shadow warriors now show themselves. They might, they loose a volley towards my gunnery wights. I'll send in a scab scrath, get some pretty good damage there. And my gun bats too can start picking away at that front line. Now the gunnery wights, they can dodge these shots. That's not too worrisome. Sirens are nearly in position. So I think I'm okay. Now I will need to heal up one of the gunnery wights before he gets absolutely murdered. And then I need to continue moving up with my zombies. Noctilus, he'll be trying to hit up these archers. I'm going to move the bats into a position where the archers actually have a pretty rough time firing, because Noctilus will be there, poking away, getting in quite a bit of damage. Here we go, the main engagement begins. Sirens need to move in, looking for fights against cavalry. Noctilus getting focus fired by the archers. Gonna have to back up just a tiny bit. The sirens are just moving in to engage. Now the fire mage, she's going to be putting in fire damage onto these onto the cavalry. That is going to be pretty bad when it comes to my sirens. So I'm just going to run away, disengage as well as I can, and then they should be fine. This is the downside of having just that fire mage. It's not the best scenario if the vampire coast just goes ahead and dodges and runs away. Because they only have so much magic. And now we're seeing, with the sirens now entering the field, the archer sort of out of position, Loopy's going to be in a bit of a scary fight now. I do lose my unit of sirens. That's definitely unfortunate. But this is going to start getting real rough for Loopy in a second. Especially with the double scab scrap. Let's go ahead and kill these 2 units of archers. One of them will provide ammunition to Noctilus. Both units of archers are now down. And then next up, I'm using my bomber bats to hit up the rest of this army. Get the sirens on top of some more archers, Noctilus to kill off cavalry. And then these shadow warriors I can mostly ignore for a lot of the game, really. I'll send a single unit of sirens onto them. Just to start keeping them busy. I don't want my gun bats to take too much damage here. And then I should be good. Now, the spearmen infantry, they'll be having a rough time versus my bats. Noctilus is still doing great against the cavalry. Just firing shots away, no problem. Sirens on the far flank are doing great. And I would say, yeah, this is going really good now. Really the biggest threat are these shadow warriors. And given that the fire mage already has cooldowns on their sword, their flaming sword ability, really not too bad. A terror out on these poor Illyrian reavers too. It will deal with them handily. And yeah, I think we're seeing just a lack of magic damage is really going to be the main punish here. These sirens are still healthy over here, and in a second I'm even going to heal them up with Noctilus. And they won't be dying for a while. These Shadow Warriors are just going to be running for the next millennium, essentially. Let's go ahead and finish chasing off the cavalry. Giving, let's see, ammunition to the gun bats. Making sure that they are able to stay effective for the whole game. And then, yeah, then we're good. Now the archers, fire damage did drop down. They're doing some extra damage to these sirens. They do kill off one unit. A little bit unfortunate, but I have more where that came from. Absolutely no problem. I'll move in my gunnery whites too for another scab scrath. And now I can use the sirens and the bats to chase off most of these guys over here in the distance. Moonbow comes down on Noctilus, gets some pretty nice damage, but Elithanar is about to get shot up by these pistol mobs. That's going to be a really rough time for him. Now, if this is a clone, that would actually be brilliant play by Loopy. But I don't think it is. Guess I'll double check just in case, but for now I'm just going to send in my zombie mobs to go and mop them up. Noctilus will just focus fire them down. Even give him a bit more ammunition. And then get ready for a big heal on the sirens and Noctilus. We'll still have to play a tiny bit careful here. In fact, this fire mage is gonna be a little bit problematic. So I'm actually going to move in with my gunnery whites now and try to snipe her out. Elithanar will be out of ammunition soon, and once she's dead, there is no more magic damage aside from Elithanar. And although he's pretty good at shooting, he will run out of ammunition soon enough, and that's gonna be it. Fire mage now dying. Absolutely great for me. Let's go ahead and just finish her off. In fact, these Shadow Warriors are running out of ammunition, and they run so low. Loopy actually runs straight into army losses, and that's gonna be GG, guys. There we go. So, a pretty nice high elf build. It's trying to prepare for a lot of things. Specifically in this case, it was ready for a crab rush and dealing with Mourngulls. Yeah, like the Mage of Metal is really important there. What I did to counterplay is overloading on the sirens. If you try to prepare for everything, you won't always actually have enough for an all-in sort of siren type build, and the fact that it was Nagarite means that there was no Alariel. So the risk was pretty low in this playstyle, and that worked out really well. The Bomber Bats too, just absolutely amazing unit to pull apart just the High Elves in general. And Noctilus on a Necrofex, still very, very fun. In this next match against Potato Sauce, it's Coast against Empire, up against a pretty heavy archer build. We have a Bright Wizard, possibly some cavalry in here based on the pricing, or a lot of huntsmen that are stealth. But the formation, it sort of implies that there aren't a ton of huntsmen here. And yeah, just a couple Empire Knights. Noctilus moving on up. Let's get these deck gunners lined up and firing. They're going to shoot off at these swordsmen to start off with, and then switch targets to the archers as soon as they can. These deck droppers too, going to be absolutely amazing for dealing with archer fire. A couple huntsmen do show themselves actually, but now we have a scary position for the Empire forces. We got deck droppers flying on in. They're aiming to overwhelm these archers here. The deck gunners with their support fire can kill off the huntsmen quite quickly. And then here we go, Empire Knights moving on in. Sirens coming in to defend. And we'll see if I can actually keep these archers, my bombers alive, that is. Disrupting the archers with summons. Now these Empire Knights, I'll have to stay away from them too. Let's back up a tiny bit. And then start holding up this front line. Now my Scurvy Dogs, they need to be getting into play. They should be clearing up infantry. And that's not the most difficult task. Yeah, a gap forms in the Empire lines. I can now sneak through that. Deck gunners finishing off any Empire range units. A few of them are actually shooting at my deck gunners though. That's a little bit unfortunate, but a possible pick on this Bright Wizard. Gonna be absolutely great. Scurvy Dogs will murder him very quickly. And then he shouldn't be too much of a problem. Empire Knights will get gunned down. The bats overwhelm these forces very quickly. Marcus, though, he gets a net. Burning head on all the dogs. They get murdered. terrible situation, but I have another unit of dogs as a backup, and they're gonna do some more cleanup over here. Not to mention the Banshees are doing absolutely amazing. And here we go. The bombers are in, right on top of all these forces. Noctilus actually getting focus fired by Marcus has taken a fair amount of heat. He's gonna need to overcast and heal himself there, but no, not too much of a problem. Some Empire Knights though, Reichsguard, sneaking around the flank, actually slam into my forces. Now that's pretty scary, but the Bright Wizard is gone, which means Sirens now rule the day. There's no more magic damage for the vampire counts. Noctilus has healed himself up back to basically full HP. And that's mostly gonna be it, as soon as this Reichsguard unit actually dies out. Which could take a while. It could take a while, honestly. That's probably the scariest part. Now these bats too. They're getting focus fired by these archers. I gotta be real careful that they stay safe. And I'm gonna pull them back, because in the late game, they are amazing as a mobile unit. And they can help clean up archers, even if the dogs die. I have a little bit of a contingency in case we run out of scurvy dogs. And there we go, the knights are gone. We'll turn and last samurai the rest of these knights, as Turin will usually say. Put your votes in if he said last samurai this battle, because there's going to be a lot of it. The knights do make contact, but the second line of guns are going to be just ravaging the rest of the Empire forces. And especially with so many bomber bats online, I think that's going to be it. I think this game could have been close, but just that slightly badly timed cavalry engagement, they took a little bit too long to slam into the side. That's going to be causing most of the problems there, as my guns basically weren't shut down for most of the game. If you look at the value on the knights, most of them didn't even pay for themselves. Same with the archers. And that's going to be it. The Siren Micro 2 is really good for shutting down cavalry. And I don't think Potato Sauce was expecting them in the forests. They actually got a lot of value. That turned the battle very one-sidedly into my favor. Oh, wow, look at that. Never mind, the dogs. The dogs are the winners here. Look at that. They paid for themselves almost ×2. Absolutely amazing. In this next match against Tank versus my Coast build, I've gone heavy, extremely heavy on the single entities. Tank, extremely heavy on the flyers. A couple Black Knights, no Blood Knights. And what's this? Some Skeleton Warriors. And some Crypt Ghouls abound. What do we got? Some Vargeists flying on in. And you know what? My Terrorgeist can actually ward them off pretty well. What are these? A couple Black Knights. That's not particularly scary. And let's see. We'll see how the Vargeists do. But these two Gunnery Wights are actually pretty proficient at picking them off. Go ahead and scoot up with the infantry just a tiny bit. Some of these guys move in over here. And here we go. The big fight engages. But guess what? I have Helm of Discord and buffs. The Gunnery Wights are doing really well. And now let's move up with the Bombers to hit up the Crypt Ghouls. Zombies repositioning. Get into a better place. And then let's... Why do I have this ability? I have Gaze of Nagash for no reason. But you know what? We might still be a-okay. Now, these guys, my two Terrorgeists, how well are they doing? Actually pretty good. Who would have guessed? Terrorgeists winning that frontline engagement. Scabscraft. I'll return fire with the Scabscraft. This is peak Vampire Coast play. And how are the Terrorgeists doing? They're still doing good. Now, healing is at a premium here. I am not made of healing by any means. As most of my resources went into patching them up just now. The Gunnery Wights are going to need to support a lot too. And I'm looking to try and get these guys landed. If I can land them, that would be absolutely amazing. But one of the Terrorgeists actually getting pretty surrounded. But there we go. The land action is initiated. Nice pull from Tank. He gets into position so that his own guys don't land. And now we'll see if the Scabscraft does well. It could go pretty good. I'm looking to heal up my Terrorgeist some more. The Dragon Lord lands down. She's a Lamian Lord. And she's going to be doing a bit of damage to my Goose. Let's see. I don't have any cooldowns. I need to pull it away into a better position. This blob over here is amazing for bombers. I need to bomb that immediately. Scabscraft, all on cooldown. My Terrorgeist disengages, and look at that. My single entities are dominating this engagement. Bombers abound in the forest. doing absolutely great, and the Vargeists are falling apart. By landing the Terrorgeists, I've secured the single entity fighting advantage, and it is paying off immensely at this point, especially with the bombers doing so well. The halberds have been able to push back the cavalry, and then now I can bring up the Terrorgeists back into the air to kill off the rest of the Vargeists. They can pretty easily do that. They have healing too, and I have another Helm of Discord here if I want to. And the Lord lands, Helm of Discord drops, and now I'm going to focus fire him, bring in the Terrorgeist, and go for a killing blow on the Lord. I've gone really heavy on the single entities here, and it looks like it's going to pay off as he gets engaged on. Helm of Discord, working out really well. Oh my gosh, working amazingly. He takes insane damage, showing vampire accounts that they are not the only owners of Helm of Discord. It turns out that's actually absolutely amazing. The Count's Lord is fallen. The bombs have annihilated the right flank. And I think that's gonna be it, guys. I even have another heal. I have a Gaze of Nagash. I can't believe it. I accidentally took Gaze of Nagash. It's gonna fly in now. And I don't even know if it's shot. I think he might have not shot the Gaze of Nagash. That's very anticlimactic, but still. We still have a game to play. These knights too, I'm gonna hit them with the Scab Scrath because there's not much else to really hit here. And that's gonna be it. The counts, they start crumbling. My Lord, still at basically full HP. It's basically the scariest single entity build they could have imagined for the vampire counts. And it looks like that's gonna be it, guys. I finally defeated the bane of my existence. The faction that has been punishing me so much over the past while. Finally falling to a nice mix of single entities and some good picks and a bit of micro. Crypt ghouls crumble away, and that's gonna be it. This guy is amazing. Can I just say that? This guy's absolutely amazing. Legion, thank you very much for the tips. Looks like it managed to pay off. Tank gives the GG. And that's gonna be it, guys. We made it. We bloody made it. Oh my goodness, look at that. Just over 1,000 value on these guys. Gunnery Wights. Even better than Terrorgeists. Fleet Admiral. Helm of Discord. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? Now, of course, Tank's build wasn't optimized for this. He was going for more of an anti-gun style, I think, with this many flyers. Or he was expecting me to go for a flying skirmish corps. The bombers, too. He clumped up with his infantry because of the positioning. And my bombers actually did amazing that run. They did really good, geez. So those played huge parts. And I think if we played this again, Tank would still have a pretty good chance of winning. So the grudge match best of 3 in the finals against Voidlaws. I have a pretty nice build. He's gone for the same thing that he's went earlier. And that's really nice for me. As Noctilus, he can pick away at these skirmishers. Shot number 1 rips apart a couple goblins. Glorious revenge. Already on the verge of routing off. What do we got? Some more deft creepers over here. They're not too much of a problem. Banshees, amazing at pushing them away. Gunnery Wights moving on in, and Noctilus is continuing to rout off these skirmishers. My bombers need to get into position. Directly in front here is perfect for them, as they can start picking off any goblins, and especially fanatics. We don't want to be facing off against them. Noctilus, summon number 1. Directly in the face of these archers. We don't want them killing off my bats. And yeah, hopefully that goes okay. My sirens are doing great. I've killed off a good number of the goblins on the first volley. But I'm gonna have to pull back now and rely on these gunnery wights to do good. The archers are being pushed back. That's very nice for me. Routed off a few more units, and next up are these archers. Can I take them out? Squig hoppers moving on in. Not particularly scary. The archers, in fact, are taking a ton of damage, and with a bit of micro, they really shouldn't be too much of a problem. My sirens actually take a huge charge from the squig hoppers. I'll heal them, but that's actually a tiny bit of a waste, as they actually are going to be going down to the magic damage regardless. These wolf riders too, they don't really have any targets to hit, and my wolves will be able to munch them apart pretty easily. I do lose my sirens though. How's Noctilus doing? We're gonna need a summon over here. Stat! And then my gunnery wights, here we go. Savage Orc big guns, double scab scrap, lighting them up. Insane amounts of damage. They're pretty lit. Now next up is Grom. Can I take him out with my gunnery wights? I'm moving them in, diving in right on top of them. Here we go. The night goblins have revealed themselves, but I was ready for them. The bats are gonna fly in and bomb them to smithereens, hopefully. Move some of my zombies into a safer position. Use these bats to help out and see if I can take out Grom now. Let's see, my dogs need to be taking out targets. Things are going decently, but not amazingly. It depends on how well these bombers do, really, and how well my dogs can actually munch up these greenskin forces. Noctilus, he's still doing healthy. Gonna need to drop a heal over here to heal a lot of my bats. And then, let's see, the dogs are gonna keep bouncing around, just getting in a lot of damage. Cleaning house. Grom, he's a bit scary. Lots of damage for sure, but the gunnery wights, absolutely amazing targets against them, are gonna be pushing him back too. It's just the squig hoppers now. A lot of the greenskin forces have routed off the map. I still have a ton of bats and dogs munching away at the greenskin forces, but the battle is not over yet. A lot of my balance of power is in all these summons here, so that's going to be a little bit scary. Let's see, I need another summon. Drop it right on top of these archers and the gunnery wights. They need to give ammunition to these gun bats. Stat. That is going to be hugely important here. And Noctilus needs to disengage lest he gets surrounded and murdered here. Let's try that out. The gun bats or the bomber bats are still doing great. Dogs cycle charging as much as they can. And I still have a lot of zombies. That is a huge win for me. The dogs, they charge in, they get a ton of damage. And Grom, he still has nothing on these gunnery wights. They are beasts in combat. A huge explosion goes down, but it disengaged the dogs in time. And now Noctilus can even shoot at Grom. He's effectively a cannon here, and he actually does quite well against them. And as soon as Grom is down, the battle should actually be mine. Go ahead and bomb out the rest of these archers now. Grom, slammed by the Wraith Storm, takes insane damage. Noctilus is going to be chasing him off with his shots. He won't be coming back. The bats are going to bomb out the archers, and guys, looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. It's not done yet though. These archers are actually pretty annoying. They get some pretty nice damage. Grom actually does rally. How are my dogs doing? They need to finish chasing off all these goblins first. But I do manage to get Grom routing off again. That is very nice. But my gunnery wights are taking a lot of damage. Let's go ahead and heal them up. I'll finish chasing off Grom. My bats need to get in range. And the gunnery wights need to give them ammunition stat before they start disappearing. Noctilus helping out in this fight as best as he can. But the gunnery wights, one of them is going to go down. I do just barely get the ammunition on my bats though, and that's going to be huge. Noctilus, he gets surrounded by some skirmishers. That's not particularly scary. And then can I actually kill off these archers now? Going to be the rather big question. I have routed off the river troll hag. Let's chase her off with some bats. My scurvy dogs, they're free. They're coming back into the fight. And despite the pretty grindy fight, it looks like it should be a pretty nice victory here. It's greenskins. They walk into army losses. And that's gonna be it. GG. Well played. And there we go. Skirmishers. No problem, guys. Woo! Revenge! It's sweet and beautiful. So, this build was made specifically to beat a greenskin skirmisher build. Noctilus, with his grape shot fire, is so annoying for this type of build. Like, the skirmishers, they barely paid for themselves, and they had no targets to hit. The dogs, alive all game, just a distraction. Sirens, they got countered. Just keeping him honest, you know, making sure he runs the orc shaman. And the double gunnery wights, I love them. They're so good. 2 gunnery wights, I'll take them any day. It's just generally a good time. So there we go. That's GG. Game number 1. On to game number 2 now. Game number 2 against Void Lols. Greenskins against Coast. I brought a very similar build up against any mass archer play he might be going for. He has gone heavier on the archers, but what I did, I actually took a Rotting Leviathan this time. And it's going to be running amok in his back line, just causing a whole ton of issues. Noctilus coming in with these shots, firing away at some greenskins, killing off some orc boys. His front line is fairly cheap. That means there's not a lot to really worry about. And he even has a couple archers that are a tiny bit exposed. That's quite good for me. The dogs are going to be running some reconnaissance. And now, the Rotting Leviathan's actually going to advance. I'm going to explode onto his front line. Noctilus even going to move into. And then this is going to turn into a surprise rush build. I'm overloading this flank right now. The bombers firing in. Skirmishers shooting at my crabs. That's actually not too much of a worry. And the gunnery wights need to move on upwards to assist. There are the fanatics, but a little bit of bat micro will go a long way. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. As yeah, they can just dodge mostly. The orc boys get nearly routed off, but not quite yet. And I'm just going to continue overwhelming this flank. Now he has an advantage in terms of skirmish potential. And Grom 2 actually slams into the into my crab, getting in some pretty good damage, but I'm chasing a lot of these forces away. Now the bats are going to fly over here. Noctilus is going to throw down a million summons, and we're gearing up for a blob fight, guys. Now the dogs, what are they going to do? They're also going to move over to flank these archers. The goal is keeping this crab alive as well as I can, long as possible. And yeah, let's grab the dogs, bomb out these orc boys, and hit up these archers. I'm splitting up, using Noctilus to cause terror, and this crab is going to have a field day in this situation. The double gunnery wight, same thing against these forces. These guys are getting chased off. I need to shut down the archers now. Noctilus is getting surrounded. And then we're just going to see the gunnery wights fighting against Grom the Paunch, doing hopefully pretty well. Bomber bats have moved in. They've knocked down a couple of these archers to start off with, but I need to hit up the rest of these archers. I really need to get them routed off the battlefield. And let's see, you know what? My dogs are getting a bit caught up. Let's pull them into a safer place. My gunnery wights are gonna snipe out this orc shaman. And the dogs, they're playing keep away right now. Now Grom, he's gone in for Noctilus, the big dive. And will I be able to keep them safe? First things first, these dogs, they need a heal. They are so important here. And we'll see if these gunnery wights have what it takes to kill off Grom. He's getting a lot of damage on Noctilus. That's definitely pretty scary. And I need my Rotting Leviathan here stat to save me. The gunnery wights are still doing good though. Fanatics, they also exist. That's going to be scary. And you know what? These archers are a bit of a pain. Let's summon on top of them. That should get them routed off. These guys over here, all these archers, they are off the battlefield. That is amazing for me. And Noctilus, we need to get that summon, my dude. Just we're going to put it a little bit closer that he can secure the summon, but he's taking a lot of damage. And he's going to need to heal himself in just a second. First things first, though. Huge Scab Scrath onto these fanatics. Let's get them off the battlefield. Amazing. Second Scab Scrath. Very important. You aim these correct. Routing off those archers. Works out very well in my favor. Next up, I need Noctilus safe. Away from Grom, who's hunting him down. Let's pull him over. And use these dogs to kill off the rest of these skirmishers. Actually forgot about the dogs for a second. That was pretty bad. And I also need to keep giving ammunition. It feels like there's a million things to do, but it's actually working out decently well right now, although quite even. Noctilus, he does fall. And that's going to be pretty scary. I don't have a ton left. I can bomb out these goblins, though. The archers are mostly occupied. But the dogs, they've taken a bit of a beating so far in this fight. You know what? I need my bombers to help support these dogs. Help them win, and then hopefully kill off Grom with all of these single entities. Let's see, how are the dogs doing? It really depends on how well these bombs do against these clumped up forces. I need them to hit up these night goblins too, and just continue focusing Grom here with my single entities. How are the gun bats doing? They have more ammunition. That's gonna help out a lot. But the deft creepers, a pretty scary force for sure. It's gonna be a close one, guys. It's gonna be really close. Oh dear. Oh man. It's gonna be really, really close. The archers are firing into this blob. Grom goes in for the cycle charge. And I think the greenskin forces, they might be able to pull out the victory here. Oh boy, we bomb out the archers. The bombers, still the bane of the greenskins here. But, gonna be... we'll see. I do have a big scab scrap. That's gonna rout off a lot of these guys. My crabs, their HP's still pretty good. The bombs hit hard. Another scab scrap will rout them all off. In fact, they're already routing. That's very good. Let's go ahead and hit that river troll hag. Throw in another scab scrap onto this archer line. Get them off of the battlefield. And just keep the ammunition high. Jeez. There we go, the river troll hag. She routs off the battlefield. My rotting leviathan is good. The archers are being shut down by my bombers, but they're running out of ammunition. So I have to be really careful here. We're giving ammo to the highest bomber bat model so that they survive. How's the rotting leviathan doing? It's very near death. The battle is insanely close. The river troll hag manages to make it out and escape. And Grom, he's looking for a charge in on my rotting leviathan. I can see that coming in from miles away. He hits, but not before the gunnery wights get a bit of damage too. And here we go. The bats are going to fly in, try to disrupt these archers by landing into the back. And then we are out of scab scraps. Now that's pretty scary. I don't have any terror, and it's just Grom. The balance of power goes into the favor of the greenskins. But a nice bomb volley hits up all of these guys. Oh boy, it's gonna be a close one. And it looks like, I have one more volley, but Grom's just barely gonna make it out. Oh my goodness, an insanely close game. I still have a gunnery wight though. He should be able to survive, but we'll have to see. One more volley coming on in, but it looks like that may be it. Army losses, and GG well played to Void Lols. Oh my gosh, a very, very close game. I went for the crab thinking he would change up the build. The mind games. We both went for very similar builds. Essentially, he went harder on the archers, which is good against a build like this. Of course, the bomber bats, still absolutely amazing. And in the end, it was Noctilus falling that really ended it. I needed the gunnery wights to stay closer to him. And you know what? The sirens, they feel like they do better than the rotting leviathan here. But there we go. The dogs couldn't get as much value either. And yeah, this build is going to be weaker against mass archers. I still need a way to figure out how to beat Grom. But yeah, I sort of like it. Let's get into the ace match and see if I can pull through. So here we go in the last match against Void Lols. I've gone for a similar build to last time, but this time with Luther Harkin. Have a Necrofex Colossus firing away, taking out some of these archers. That's going to be priority 1. Then some skirmishers when they get in range. A caster's on a crab. A gunnery wight's on a crab. And Luther is going to fly out. Now, not too many skirmishers this time around unless they're stealthed, so the bats should have pretty free reign. And then I'm going to start picking away at the sides here. Luther can help out immensely in this situation, and he's actually going to start picking off the river troll hag. I can snipe her with the gunnery wight too, but I have to be careful because she is retreating. But he'll move up a tiny bit for now. Here we go, bombers at the ready. Luther poking away at the hag. Let's get the bombers in. And Luther, let's see how much damage he takes. Necrofex firing in on the skirmishers now. And a Vindictive Glare or something else coming in on Luther. We dodge it. Very well timed. Helps me out a lot. Skirmishers have revealed themselves. We pull the bats over. Another shot on Luther. Not a lot of damage. Not too worrisome. Let's go ahead and move these guys up now. Here we go. Bomber bats for a second volley onto these orc boys now. Grom, I'm keeping a close eye on him. He's not going to be diving in without Luther just annihilating his face. So I think that's fine. And we're seeing these goblins on the flanks now that I want to rout off. First things first though, let's go ahead and deal with these orc boys. That shouldn't be too difficult. Let's send in the crabs in onto the fight. Summon a couple zombies to start punishing these guys. Skirmishers are moving about Luther. I'm gonna throw in a breath attack onto these orc boys. That'll finish them off faster. And then my zombies are gonna be moving on up. Get a breath attack on Luther, and actually, you know what? Nah, Grom is the main target here. I'm gonna throw him with a ability. Go ahead and give him cooldowns and just stack everything to really annihilate him. My bomber bats need to move in. They're hitting up those guys. Grom, he's diving in, he's dancing around. Gets a pretty nice charge in on Luthor. I can heal though. And then this Gallows Giant, it needs to be finding a few better targets here, really. Let's go ahead and get these dogs into play too. Bomb up a few of these Orc boys and see if I can take out Grom. Let's see here, my caster, she can throw down a summon. Chase off these guys, that'll help out a ton. And Luthor needs to be dodging and disengaging now, actually, as the situation starts to get pretty dicey for him. A few Squig Hoppers reveal themselves. I need to be wary of those guys, but Grom getting pretty low. Luthor too. So we've sort of just traded out on the Lord front. I'm gonna throw in a breath attack though. It lands, it hits, gets in some pretty nice damage. Luthor, he gets lit though, and he's not gonna get healing for a while. That's pretty scary. We'll see how that plays out. In fact, another volley comes in. Luthor, he's getting real low now. That's definitely pretty scary, but my single entity squad, they're still doing okay against Grom. The bomber bats have done well against the infantry too. And as long as I manage Luthor well, I think I'll be okay. Necrofex is still alive. Bomber bats are active. But I need to be giving them ammunition and also throwing down Scab Scrats onto all of this glorious infantry. Now, oh man, those Squig Hoppers, they put a number in on my forces. That's definitely pretty scary. Bomber bats are doing good though. I've compromised most of these guys, but the dogs are gonna be falling. That's definitely quite scary. And we'll have to see how this plays out heading on into the late game. Fire at Will is now turned off for Luthor Harkin. And I'm focusing on these single entities and seeing if they can clear out most of these greenskins here. Gonna be scary. Another shot coming in on Luthor. He dodges, doesn't take too much damage. That's good. I still have a breath attack. Let's see if I can get these guys routed, so that I can continue hunting down more and more archers. Let's see, Luthor, he takes a slow. He's gonna be getting focus fired. And a breath attack, it lands, and he needs to be dodging as much as possible now. Just flying up and down with him, so that none of the archers can actually hit. Dodging as much as possible, and putting in a heal onto him too, just to keep him nice and alive, as a lot of focus fire is coming down. Luthor does not want to land, and he does not want to take any hits, and the more archer fire he can dodge, the better. Grom, he comes on in. Go ahead and hit him with the debuffs and go in for a sniping attempt on him. He tries to disengage. Luthor will be disengaging himself, and then just continuing to dodge as much as possible, really. Bomber bats now engaged. That's very good. I need ammunition on them though to do well. And Luthor, he needs to take up into the air soon. Otherwise, this fight over here could get pretty dicey. In fact, it looks like Luthor won't be taking up into the sky. That's very dicey. But we could see a huge rout here on most of these forces. In fact, with the Scab Scrat coming down, I feel like my Gunnery Wight, he might be the hero of the day. We drop it. Luthor, he needs to disengage. Let's go ahead and send in the bats and hope for a terror rout at this point. Oh boy, he needs to get out of there. Where's Grom? Where's Grom? He's fighting the Gunnery Wight. I'm gonna hit him with the debuff. Move in with the Necrofex Colossus to focus fire him down. Same with the Caster. Caster is gonna heal up the Gunnery Wight. Luthor, though, he takes a lot of damage. And it looks like Luthor's gonna be going down to a couple of skirmishers in the back. Oh my gosh. Very, very close here. But Luthor, he sadly falls. Grom gets a disengage. And now we're left hoping for a mass terror rout for the greenskins. But it looks like very nice micro on Grom. All of the sniping attempts on him were not worth it. And in the end, going for a heavier archer style of play is going to be paying off for good old Void Lulls here. Let's go ahead and continue to focus him as best as I can, but that's going to be it. We can just close out now. GG, well played. And that's going to be it. Very good fun. Very fun best of 3. And yeah, quite enjoyable. I think against a heavier archer style of play, I could go back to a Silostra idea. Alternatively, going very heavy on the Sirens works out too. I do like the Necrofex, but I think cutting that would have actually done pretty well in this situation. For the second 2 games after he switched off of skirmishers, I could have gone heavier on the single entities like another Rotting Leviathan, or even just going crazy on these Scurvy Dogs. So definitely options are there, but Void Lulls coming in with the better meta gaming, gonna be winning, and of course very good play too.